The 6.7 Cummins might be the toughest diesel engine ever put in a pickup truck, but the truck Ram built around it, that's a different story. From a transmission designed for minivans to a fuel pump they quietly recalled on over 200,000 trucks. These are 5 Ram Cummins secrets your mechanic hopes you never figure out. Number 1. The 15,000-mile oil change is slowly killing your engine. If you open up your Ram owner's manual, you'll see that it says to change your oil every 15,000 miles. And if you hate crawling under your truck, that probably sounds like a gift. In fact, Ram even bumped that number up from 7,500 miles back around the 2013 model year on the exact same engine with the exact same oil capacity. But I think that change had nothing to do with engine health and everything to do with making ownership costs look prettier on a brochure. Here's what I keep seeing in my shop. Guys who follow that 15,000-mile schedule show up around 80,000 to 100,000 miles with valve train noise, sludge-packed oil passages, and oil so thick it pours like syrup. I pulled a valve cover off a Ram 3500 last year that had been serviced on the factory schedule every single time. The inside of that engine looked like someone dumped cake batter into it. The 6.7 with full emissions runs hot and dirty. Your EGR system cycles exhaust gases right back through the engine, and all that soot ends up in your crankcase oil. Older Cummins engines without EGR could get away with longer intervals, but this engine cannot. Here's my take, and I know this is going to start a war in the comments. Run good synthetic oil like Rotella T6 and change it every 5,000 to 7,500 miles. I've done exactly that on every Cummins truck I've owned and worked on. And I have yet to crack open an engine with sludge problems when the owner kept to that schedule. A Cummins oil change runs you about $80 in parts, but a Cummins long block runs north of $12,000. You do the math. And that oil life monitor on your Ram's dash display? That monitor is guessing based on engine hours and driving patterns. It has no way of knowing what your oil actually looks like. Don't let a computer decide when your 12 quarts of protection have had enough. But bad oil is only half the problem. What is sitting inside your fuel system right now might be even worse. Number 2. There are fake filters inside Cummins engines all over this country, and the owners have no clue. This one makes my blood boil. Amazon and eBay are flooded with counterfeit Mopar and Fleetguard filters shipping straight out of China. These are not obvious fakes. The boxes look right, the part numbers match, and unless you know exactly what to spot, you would never catch it. A customer brought his 2018 Ram 2500 into my shop after it died 5 seconds into a cold start following a fuel filter change. Just 5 seconds and it was done. We pulled the engine bay fuel filter and it was completely dry. The filter media was so poorly made that diesel fuel could not even pass through it. That is what a $40 fake filter will do to your morning. A Fleetguard training leader actually put out a public warning about this. He said the surge in counterfeit filters has gotten bad enough that there is no reliable way to know what you are getting from online sellers until you have the part in your hand. One giveaway on the fakes is the spelling. The counterfeiters actually misspell Fleetguard on the filter itself. If the print quality looks off, or you spot a spelling mistake anywhere on the box, throw it in the trash. Now, a genuine Mopar fuel filter set costs about $125 from a trusted source like Gino's Garage. The fakes go for $40 to $50. So when an independent shop charges you $60 in parts for fuel filters, ask where those filters came from. The genuine Fleetguard engine-mounted filter catches particles down to 3 microns. Some cheap alternatives only get down to 5 or 7 microns. That gap matters when your injectors run at over 26,000 pounds per square inch, and a single speck of debris can score the internals. That $50 you saved on filters is really just a down payment on a $6,000 injector replacement. Buy your filters from Gino's Garage, a Ram dealer parts counter, or a fleet supply shop like Fleet Pride. And if your mechanic can't show you the box the filter came out of, find a different mechanic. Now, filters and oil you can control. But this next one is something Ram baked into the truck before you ever signed the paperwork. Number 3. Your transmission was built on borrowed parts from a minivan. I love the 6.7 Cummins. I will go to my grave defending that engine, but I have absolutely zero love for the 68 RFE automatic transmission that Ram bolted behind it. And this is what Ram was hoping you would never find out about. The transmission was built off the same bones as the 45 RFE and the 545 RFE from gas-powered Chryslers and minivans. The same basic gearbox architecture that shifted gears in a town and country is what Ram expects to handle 800 pound-feet of Cummins torque, the vehicle your aunt drove to soccer practice. That's the foundation they picked for a diesel work truck. They stretched it, added 2 more gears, upgraded a few parts, and slapped a heavy-duty label on it. But the bones were never meant for this kind of work. If you want to know how bad the internals are, pop open one of these transmissions on the bench and look at the backing plate. It is made of metal so soft you could bend it by hand. I'm not exaggerating. Ask any transmission rebuilder who has cracked one of these open on the workbench. Under load, that plate flexes and blows off. And when that happens, you lose all your fluid pressure inside the transmission and it just stops shifting on you. And if the backing plate doesn't kill it first, the thermal bypass system will finish the job. Look at the transmission cooler lines running off the housing. There is a thermal bypass valve in there that holds back fluid flow to the cooler until the transmission hits a preset temperature. Problem is, by the time it opens up, your fluid is already past 200 degrees and the damage is rolling. I have seen more of these transmissions fail between 60,000 and 120,000 miles than I can count. That range just happens to land right outside most powertrain warranties. Real convenient, right? I had a guy bring in his 2019 Ram 3 months after his warranty expired. The truck only had 67,000 miles on it, and the transmission was already slipping in third and fourth. He pulled the dipstick and the fluid looked like chocolate milk. Poor guy thought he did something wrong. Thankfully, I told him it's actually Ram who did something wrong when they picked this gearbox. A stock rebuild runs $3,000 to $5,000 and uses the exact same weak parts that failed the first time. But if you want it done right, a properly built unit with a billet torque converter, reinforced valve body, and upgraded clutch packs runs $7,000 to $13,000. So if you're keeping your truck and you have this transmission behind your Cummins, do yourself a favor. Get the fluid swapped every 30,000 miles with quality ATF Plus 4. Throw a deeper transmission pan on there because the stock pan does not hold enough fluid to keep temperatures in check. And bolt on a temperature gauge so you actually know what's going on inside that thing before it turns into a $7,000 surprise. If this is helping you out, do me a favor and hit subscribe. I put out videos like this every week so you can keep your Ram running right without emptying your bank account. Number 4. Ram installed a fuel pump they already knew was a ticking time bomb. This one fires me up more than anything else on this list. In 2019, Ram came out with an updated 6.7 Cummins. New iron block, forged rods, 1,000 pound-feet of torque. Beautiful engine. But tucked inside was the Bosch CP4.2 high-pressure fuel pump. And anyone who had been paying attention to the diesel world already knew that pump was bad news. The CP4 had been blowing up in GM Duramax trucks since 2011. It failed in Ford Powerstroke engines. It even failed in the Nissan Titan with the 5.0 Cummins. But for some reason, Ram looked at all of that and said, yeah, let's use it anyway. When a CP4 grenades, it does not just quit working. It shreds internally and sends microscopic metal debris through your entire high-pressure fuel system. Your fuel rails, your injectors, your supply lines, everything gets contaminated. I've seen total fuel system repair bills hit $12,000 to $15,000 on Ram trucks with less than 50,000 miles because one pump decided to let go. The biggest trigger for CP4 failure is air getting into the system, and a huge chunk of those cases trace back to fuel filter changes where the housing wasn't fully sealed or the system wasn't properly primed afterward. Ford at least had the sense to feed their CP4 with a factory electric lift pump pushing 55 pounds per square inch of clean supply pressure. Ram cheaped out and skipped it entirely. Here is where it gets really interesting. In late 2020, Ram tried a revised CP4 but gave up on it. By 2021, they quietly switched back to the CP3, the same rock-solid pump used from 2003 through 2018. But then Ram's parent company dropped a recall on over 200,000 affected trucks from the 2019 and the 2020 model years to swap the CP4 for a CP3. They didn't fix the pump, they replaced the entire design, and that tells you everything. If you own a 2019 or a 2020 Ram, get that recall done. Cummins is literally mailing out gift cards worth up to $1,000 to get people to bring their trucks in, because so many owners have been ignoring it. And regardless of what year your truck is, an aftermarket lift pump from FAS or AirDog is one of the smartest upgrades you can put on a Cummins. It feeds clean, pressurized fuel to your injection pump and adds filtration that the factory system simply does not provide. So between the oil, the filters, the transmission, and the fuel pump, you'd think the least your dealer could do is charge you a fair price for maintenance. Yeah, about that. Number 5. You are paying 3 to 4 times too much for basic maintenance at the dealer. This next one is going to change how you look at every dealer service bill for the rest of your life. A Ram dealership will charge you somewhere between $400 and $600 for an oil and fuel filter service on a 6.7-liter Cummins. I have personally seen quotes over $600 for just the oil and fuel filters. That does not include tire rotation and inspection or anything extra. And some of those dealers are billing 2.5 to 3 hours of labor at $150 to $175 an hour for a job that takes a guy with basic tools under 2 hours. Here is what the parts actually cost. A jug of Rotella T6 and a Fleetguard Stratapor filter runs you about $80. Both fuel filters from a place like Gino's Garage are another $90. That is under $170 all in. When the dealer charges you $500, you are handing them over $300 in pure markup for a job you can learn from a 15-minute YouTube video. Now, I want to be fair. There are solid dealer technicians out there, and I have worked alongside some of them. But the service writer behind that counter is not your friend. They are salespeople, and they work on commission. The more repairs they talk you into, the bigger their paycheck. I had a guy come to me for a second opinion after a dealer quoted him $3,000 for an exhaust manifold job on his Ram 3500. 12 hours of labor, they said. We did the same repair for under $2,000, and it took less than 6 hours. That is a $1,000 difference on a single visit. And I will leave you with this trick because it has caught more shady shops than I can count. Before you drop your truck off anywhere for an oil change, take a paint pen and mark your oil filter with a small symbol. If the truck comes back and your mark is still on that filter, they charged you for a new one and never swapped it. I have seen it happen more than once. Keep your receipts for warranty protection, buy your parts from trusted suppliers, and find a good independent diesel shop in your area. Or better yet, learn to wrench on your own truck. Your Cummins will thank you for it. Look, the 6.7 is an absolute tank of an engine. Take care of it the right way, not the way Ram's marketing department suggests, and that thing will run 300,000 miles without breaking a sweat. Now go watch my video on 3 cheap Ram trucks everyone ignores because they are absolute gold mines. One of those trucks is so underpriced right now it is almost criminal, and if you are in the market, you need to see it before everyone else figures it out. I will see you over there.